Hi everyone, welcome back to Pine Hollow Auto Diagnostics. We got another fancy European today, 2015 Audi Q7 turbo diesel. Customer complaint, well, it's his wife's car and she said there's no heat, it's getting cold, you gotta have heat, especially on something this fancy. But he says intermittently, or maybe when you start it up, first it has some heat and then it just disappears. So let's fire it up. Yesterday when they brought it over, sat for a few minutes and I started it up, it had good heat. Took it for a test drive and gradually that heat disappeared until it was blowing cold out of the vents. At least the heated seats work. So I'm suspecting a coolant flow problem through the heater core. Now it does have front and rear climate controls with two separate heater cores. No heat anywhere, so it's not like a blend door problem or something like that. It's going to be a global coolant flow problem. That's my gut feeling, and hopefully we'll find something interesting. So this is some fancy climate control. You got individual fan controls, individual mode controls, obviously heated seats, individual temperature control. So I have it set on high, full blast, and I just started it and it's already getting a little warm. So these cars, they can have several features, including an auxiliary heater, which is supposed to activate when the engine's cold so you get instant heat. We'll get a thermal camera out so I can show it on video, exactly what the temperature of the vents is. But it's definitely warmer than it is outside. Right now it's about 40 degrees outside, so 5 Celsius. But yeah, it's lukewarm right now, so we'll let it warm up, see what happens. Interesting to note that I have these both set on high, and they're blowing ice cold air at the moment. So maybe the auxiliary heater is trying to compensate for something. It seems like we have no flow through these heater cores. Alright, this is where the top-down TC View thermal camera comes into its own. You can compare exactly what each vent is doing. So I'll try to get the glare out of the way. So we can see about 30 degrees C on this one and 25 on this one. So why the discrepancy there? I'm not sure. On this one about 25. This one over here about 30. And the ones in the back about ambient temp. Let's see. Oh, what am I doing? I should turn off the phone auto rotate. Only 50 degrees, so 13C. That's the initial observation. Well, the engine seems to be fully warmed up, but I see several problems. There's smoke coming up from like this area here. I don't think that's normal. The radiator hoses are all cold. Cold. This one here, completely cold. This coolant pipe, everything's cold. The block is hot. How is it cooling itself? We have a hot pipe right there. That's the heater pipe. See, this is thermal camera specialty here. Let's rip off this beauty cover. That's useless. hot up here. There's turbo. So the coolant return pipe is clearly high. Why is our radiator not heating up? Very strange. I'm taking this Audi diesel for a spin. I want to get it nice and hot. I mean, the needle just stays rock steady in the middle, so engine's not overheating apparently. But I want to see coolant flow through the radiator, through the heater cores. I don't know how much you have to drive it to warm it up. But right now it's again just lukewarm here like it was from the first 5 seconds of running. And the flow through this vent is kind of not as strong. It's only got 100,000 miles on it. Yeah. So after the test drive, we actually dropped in temperature. We're just about room temperature, a little cooler there. Yeah, and these suckers are about 60 Fahrenheit. So what the heck is going on? Upper radiator hose, that warmed up a bit, 60°C, so not even, you know, it's warm, not hot by any means. Maybe this engine just takes forever to warm up, I don't know. We still have smoke over here. Yeah, I don't see that anymore. We have to figure out where the lines go from the engine to these heater cores. Front left wheel is off, fender liner's out. Here are all of the heater core pipes. Oh my word. It looks like there's a little auxiliary pump there, some kind of shut-off valve there. So those two pipes go here, and then these two pipes go, I'm guessing, to the engine. And everything is cold. I mean, it's just ambient temp. So obviously there's no coolant passing through these pipes. Now, can we tell which pipe goes where? I looked at some OEM diagrams. They were not particularly helpful. So these obviously go to the engine. And then, well, let's just track it one way. Let's say we started this one, so that one splits off and goes to the rear. This one comes up here, all the way up here. You know, let's say that's the intake pipe. I wish that had arrows on here. Then coming out of the heater core, comes here, down, 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 down to the rear. Oh, so to go back to the engine, it has to go through the auxiliary pump, has to go through this shutoff valve, and then back to the engine. Okay, so if we have a global issue here with flow, and the engine's not overheating, so the water pump has to be okay, right? I mean, the radiator did start getting a little warm, so this engine's pretty slow to warm up, I guess. Could you say a thermostat's stuck? No, because when it is warmed up, I mean, the temperature gauge goes basically right to the middle. There's no code saying for you know, slow to warm up or anything like that. Is it possible that something in here, like this shutoff valve, is stuck shut and not letting flow through our heater cores? Well, that's actually fairly straightforward to test. We can just eliminate it and connect this, you know, the outlet of the pipe or of the coolant pipe to here. Just run a straight hose, and then I think that we can at least eliminate the shutoff valve. I mean, I think that's the easiest thing to do in terms of from a diagnostic standpoint. Let's just try that. Okay, so undoing a few fasteners, we can tilt this thing down and work on it, which is nice. Let me just put power and ground to this valve, see if it clicks, see if it's stuck, and then, I mean, it's only there to shut off the coolant in hot temperatures so the AC can have maximum efficiency, but in Pennsylvania we can easily eliminate this thing and the car will be totally happy. Alright, so we got some leads on this little valve and power and ground coming from the battery. So let's start with a 1 amp test light. So if we go from positive to negative, I'm just testing my light. It'll light up. Now I want to go from positive through the valve back to ground. See if it does anything. We can measure the current on there. It's not even lighting a 1 amp test light. Maybe it's a very low current device. I definitely didn't hear any big movement. So if we put our amp clamp on here, 0, if I disconnect it, 0.4. It's about half an amp, but I hear basically no movement. Now, I think this valve is stuck, so next thing I want to do is just do the manual bypass. We can, I don't know what's the easiest way. I don't want to spill too much coolant. We can pinch off this hose, remove the valve, and install just a male, 3/4 inch T. Alright, so here is the coolant valve, and wouldn't you know it, completely plugged. I think it's supposed to be open in the default state. We can energize it, see if that plunger moves. This thing is broken. So I put in just a connector, we'll stuff it in here, put the clamps back on, run this thing, and see if we have our heat back. So we only lost a few drops of coolant here. I checked the level in the reservoir, it's full. So let's run the car, get the thermal camera out, and see if we have restored flow to these heater cores. And for this thing, we'll bench test it, and we can give the owner a quote on replacement. But you know what, for reliability, I would just leave it out. Yeah, there's the part number. Alright, let's take a peek. This is looking promising. All our hoses are hot. Now the aluminum pipes, they're very reflective, so the temperature doesn't show up well in those. So you want to look at the rubber hoses. You see we're well above body temperature now, 45°, and that one is 41, so that must be the coolant feed to the heater cores. That's the hot one going through the auxiliary pump, so that was the feed. We bypassed that shutoff valve that's on the feed pipe. We track that down to here. Let's see what is going on at the vent. Alright, so you can see the temperature there is about the same as the coolant pipes. That is fantastic. It hasn't gotten this hot ever since we started the diagnostics. And yep, about 45°, so getting toasty. Now the temperature gauge actually dropped because now the engine's transferring most of the heat to inside the cabin. Before it would warm right up because there's no flow through the heater cores. That makes perfect sense. So the thermostat we know is working. During a test drive, I'm sure as the engine produces more heat, you'll get even better output here. Customer complaint addressed. That's it. That's the only issue with this car. So we'll give them a quote on that valve. We can bench test it, see what's going on there. But that's the end of the diagnosis. So negative parts required on an Audi. Simply amazing. And we'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye. Alright, just a quick bench test of the solenoid. We plug it in. There's no action. It's drawing 1/2 amp. Stuck shut. How much does it cost? $200 at the Audi dealership. Not the end of the world, but also you don't really need it. So we'll leave it off for now. Tell the customer the car's done. If he wants to replace it, not hard, not a hard job at all. And that's it. So thanks all for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.